Good morning, it's Jonathan Barratt with the morning debrief for Tuesday, April the 20th. Okay, bit of a reversal last night, and the Dow's up quite aggressively, up pretty much close to, not as much as what it lost the other night, but up 73 points, so that was quite good. Also, US dollar was quite firm to begin with, then weakened towards the end, but that didn't help save some of the grains. Grains under a lot of pressure there. Good thing was that we did cut our grains yesterday afternoon ahead of that, just purely because we thought the US dollar would strengthen. However, something else happened and the grain market tumbled, so it's quite interesting. But anyway, let's have a look at some of the closes. And as you can see here, the Dow's up 73 points at 11,092. The interesting thing here is the Nasdaq was down 1.15, the S&P was up 5. And that's indicating perhaps the rally is not as broad-reaching as some of us expected. So it just might be just more just a reaction rather than an actual trend developing. But anyway, only time will tell on that. We had some good numbers. Some economic numbers were good, which was good. Leading indicators came out. Leading indicators, as you can see there, rise 1.4% as the economy does start to pick up steam. We always feel that the economy will suffer shocks, but the shocks seem to be short-lived as confidence comes back to the market. And that's what we're seeing, I think, at the moment. We did get IBM, a little bit of negative news there, a little bit of concern over what's happening there with the SEC and Goldman's. That's going to be play a big part in the markets. But overall, I think the market did well to recover. And that's also a trend which we're seeing. If, in fact, Europe is down, America's down on the Friday, then we get a negative day on the Monday, and then the US seems to recover quite nicely from it. And I've noticed that over the last 3-4 weeks, so that's something to keep in the back of your minds. Okay, so that's it on that front. Let's have a look at now some of the other markets, just the things we normally look at. And as we can see, if we start off with the dollar index, had quite an interesting move. And as you can see, the dollar's been very firm all this time. A little bit of a correction. Now, if we start at the daily chart, we can actually see that we have bounced off this significant form of low here. Now, what we've got to try and work out is whether it's just a correction of this move and the US dollar weakness will resume, or whether or not this is the end or low here, we've got a new trend coming up through to 82, 83. Too early to tell, but our momentum indicators are certainly suggesting to us that this is a move to the top side at the moment. But if you are long, obviously a breakthrough that through this area here, through that low of 80.25 would signal the fact that we are wrong. Okay, so that's pretty much for the dollar index. But as you can see, the Aussie in itself had a bit of a rally, late rally. It does look quite weak in terms of momentum indicators, but we did have a big spike yesterday. US dollar was quite well bid, and throughout the session it's been relatively weak throughout the last 4 or 5 hours. So let's see how that unpairs today, see what happens on that front. Euro 134.90 looks quite as if we might be having a low here. Let's just see what happens. Once again, US dollar has been weak over the last couple of hours, 4 or 5 hours, and let's see if we get back to that 134. If you remember, the 134 area was an area of accumulation that we first saw, and we looked at in any of the reports that we've talked about. So if in fact it does get down to that level, we probably expect that area to actually buy it. As you can see here, it all does look a little bit toppy, and probably anticipate there that we can still come down just a little bit lower. Perhaps the US dollar in itself is not ready to capitulate, but certainly somewhere soon. Okay, so that's the dollar. That's what we're seeing there. On some of the commodities here, I think it's important to have a look at crude. There's been a little bit of news on crude in terms of quotas, and that's why we saw this massive fall over from the weekend. But we found leveled off around that $81 mark. Might find a little bit of support here. Let's see what happens. There's a concern over the quotas, particularly out of OPEC, and we should get some resolution out of that over the next 24 hours. And that was the main reason for oil actually to come under pressure. And that obviously coupled with the strength in the US dollar. So that's it on the crude side. On the copper side, 352. Once again, you can see this big bounce which has been occurring in all the commodities. That's purely on the back of the US dollar being quite well a better bid at the moment. And we've just seen that short spike on some dollar weakness, which seems to have helped the market. So we've still got small shorts in copper at the moment, but nothing to be too concerned about. Okay, so that's copper. But now have a look at what's happened to some of these softs. Now we did edge out of our positions yesterday for different reasons, but we've seen that corn has come under a lot of pressure there. There you can see massive move in corn, massive move in wheat as well, and soya not so massive, but certainly down. And soya was the only one we actually held on to. But I think I'll be getting out of that one too today. But big moves there. Quite a lot of news there concerning it in terms of just favourable conditions, and also strong US dollar. But it's interesting to note that some of the primary input markets have bounced, but the grains remain soft. So that's quite an interesting little thing, because normally you'd expect them all to trade together. Okay, so that's about on that front. Just in terms of economic numbers, I guess the most important one is ABC Consumer Confidence, which is due out. In America, we've got CPI in the UK, retail prices, RPI and all that. Machine tools in Japan, and we've got the Reserve Bank Board April minutes. Banks Board April minutes, so that'll indicate the steady as she go, and we might see a little bit of movement on interest rates. One thing I didn't mention was gold. 1134.60, we are short gold, and I think I'm going to have to revise that expectations. We did have an expectation around that 1120. We did get to a low of about 1123. I might actually see the price action. I might cover around 1130 today, but I'll let you know on the tweeters as to what we do there. Well, that's about it from me. I hope everyone has a good day and has a good day and gets into the market and looks at some of these trades. As I said, we do put the trade recommendations out on Twitter. So just join on Twitter. You'll be able to see what I'm doing. There's not always a trade there, and they're not always right, but we've been quite good on a few of them. But in terms of trade mentoring, it could be a good idea to see how some of the traders feel about some of the positions you put on. So that's about it from me. Hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.